After being disowned for a year, my mother got cancer and now wants to talk. My parents disowned me last year, it's been a little over a year now. This isn't the first time, they also disowned me 2 years ago for a few months. They came back to talk to me, and at first, it seemed like things were smoothed over, but of course, they weren't. A bit about them: my father abused my mother for most of my life. She was always in his shadow, and we lived in fear. But that was considered okay because we had enough money, went on vacations, and had everything material we needed. Besides the physical violence, I wasn't fully aware of how deep the psychological scars were until I met my long-term boyfriend. Being with him helped me realize just how problematic my parents' behavior towards me was: daily control, constant belittling, treating me like I was 12 when I was actually 20. For the first time, I started standing up for myself and behaving like an adult. At first, things were fine between them and my boyfriend, but that changed over time. My boyfriend and I went through rough patches, arguments, and even breakups, but we worked through them together. The first big issue arose when my boyfriend moved in with me in the city where we lived. This didn't align with my father's standards, meaning we didn't ask for his permission in person at his house, though we did call him. My boyfriend took over paying rent so that my parents wouldn't have any control over me, as I was still a student at the time. Later, we decided to leave the city and move to a rural area where my boyfriend inherited a house that needed work. We wanted to fix it up and make it our home. That's when my parents disowned me again. Eventually, they came back, and after a lot of back and forth, we reconciled. But after some time, they started another cycle of manipulation and abuse, insulting where I lived, mocking me, saying I'd be stuck taking care of livestock and become a dumb country girl, despite my education. They called me worthless, said my boyfriend had me under his control, was probably drugging me, and so on. During this, my boyfriend and I had a huge argument, and I decided to leave the house. There was a lot of yelling, but no violence. My parents came to get me, and I moved back in with them. They were overjoyed. Everything was fine for a while until my boyfriend reached out to my father, trying to explain that he was the one who suggested I leave because our living conditions weren't ideal. We had no heating, no bathroom, etc. My father refused to listen and got even angrier, saying my boyfriend had no right to call him. My boyfriend then called me, and I went to see him. I wanted to bring him home so we could all talk properly, but my father said my boyfriend could only kiss his feet before getting kicked out. He told me I had 2 choices: walk out the door and never return, or stay and block my boyfriend completely. I panicked, had a breakdown, and blocked my boyfriend, who had been waiting outside for me. For a month, we had no contact. I moved in with my sister in a bigger town near where my boyfriend lived. One day, he came to her place just to hand me a letter and see me one last time. That's when I unblocked him, and we started talking occasionally. After a while, I realized I wanted to try again with him. When I told my parents, they said they would disown me again. They claimed he would beat me, throw me out like a dog, that I'd end up homeless, and they started cursing me. I stayed silent. Then, I realized, why do they think they can forbid a 23-year-old woman from seeing or reconciling with her partner? It was insane. Meanwhile, they either treated me like a princess or a servant. One moment, they'd say, "You don't have to cook, you've cooked enough," and the next, "Why don't you cook? You're just sitting around." If I did cook, it was, "What, just one meal?" If I cooked more, it was, "That's nothing." My sister started spying on me and gave me a cleaning schedule. My parents showed up unannounced twice a week. That's when I fully realized how sick our relationship was, how it wasn't normal for someone to control a grown woman's life. What if I wanted to move? Change jobs? Would they think they had the right to decide for me? Just like my whole childhood, where I lived in their shadow, afraid to even breathe differently for fear of their reaction. So, I told them I was getting back together with him. Their response? "You'll only enter this house again in a coffin or on a stretcher." They called me a drug addict, mentally ill, cursed everything they ever gave me, and told me their doors were closed forever, even if my boyfriend killed me or threw me out on the street. I simply said, "Okay." Within days, I moved out completely. They threatened everyone not to talk to me. They harassed my grandparents, checked their phones, monitored their messages, and yelled at them. My aunts eventually reached out, and when I saw my mother at a family wedding, I nodded at her, but she ignored me completely. My sister also cut off contact because I told her I wouldn't call her, to avoid her being harassed, but that I'd always answer if she called. Once, I missed her call, and she never called again. My grandparents secretly came to see me, but later, my father found out because he has people in the village watching me. Now, the twist, my mother has cancer. She had her uterus removed, and she's recovering. My grandparents are pushing for us to reconcile, and they accidentally gave her my new phone number. My parents are now claiming they have no issue with my boyfriend anymore. I understand why my grandparents want peace, but I can't erase everything that was said to me, or the year I spent completely alone. During this time, my boyfriend and I have struggled with rising costs and inflation, but we made our choice, and that's fine. Still, every time I think of my parents, I feel nothing but anger. A few days ago, my mother messaged me, "I think enough time has passed, and it would be nice to meet and talk. I've been home resting, so why not? If you feel the same, let me know." "Mom," I replied, "I heard what happened. I hope you recover soon. If you want to talk, we can, but I don't see where that conversation would lead. Time alone won't erase everything that was said to me without a good reason." She answered, "It wasn't right on either side. If you want to talk, let me know." That response infuriated me. I haven't replied in 10 days. I never insulted them or responded to any of their words, but they trashed my name and disrespected me entirely. I thought that was the end of it, but today, she messaged again, asking to meet in a nearby town. My boyfriend says I should go since it can't get worse. I'm considering it, just to put an end to their constant calls and messages and to hear what they have to say. But the idea makes me deeply uncomfortable and anxious. I avoid conflict, and I don't know how to handle it. I'm afraid they'll manipulate me again, and I'll end up back in the same cycle. What do you think? I know this is a lot, and you don't have the full picture, but please help me gain some perspective. Everyone around me just says, "Do what you think is right," or asks me if I could live with never seeing them again if something happened to them. But I don't even know how to deal with what's happening now, let alone hypothetical futures. I feel lost and overwhelmed. It seems so unfair that everyone expects me to make the effort, to visit, to talk, to lower my pride, when in the end, I was the only one who was hurt.